Is World of Light any good? Well, for those of you that don't know what that is, first off, why are you watching this video? Second of all, it's the story mode, it's the campaign, it's whatever you want to call it, for the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, I've put a lot of time into this mode. As you can clearly see, I've put almost 100% into it. I can't really be bothered to get the last two spirits, nobody really cares. So mainly because I've looked and I have no idea where they are, I'm going to make this review. This is my take on the World of Light from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Now, before we really get into this, I'm going to set some ground rules. As I mentioned already, put a lot of time into this mode. I've already completed it. Almost got everything in it. So I'm going to be really comparing it to Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which is the third game in the franchise, 2 games ago if you count the Wii U and 3DS versions the same. Now, the reason I'm not considering the Wii U version, or 3DS for that matter, they didn't really have a single-player mode. I mean, they did, but it wasn't a story mode. So it's not really comparable, and, really this is a comparison for a story and the gameplay going with it. So the Subspace Emissary mode, which is in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, is really the only thing that's comparable. It's the only story mode, per se, from the other games. Now, I will avoid spoilers as I go through this video. I'm air quoting spoilers right now because honestly, there's not much, there's not really anything, and I'll warn you with a timestamp when I do come to spoilers. So, if you don't want to get the quote-unquote experience ruined, don't worry, there'll be a timestamp. And one last thing, if you were a follower of STG, Skill Tree Gaming, this channel, if you're a follower of that, you're wondering where I've been, where the videos have been, I'll have some commentary at the very end after the video to talk about where the channel is and where it's going. With that, let's just get started. So starting out, the most important thing that I should probably explain is just how it works. And for the most part, it's simple. Thanos snaps his fingers, everyone dies, except for Kirby. So what happens is, this starting cutscene that you've probably all seen, it was the trailer for this mode, kind of explain, what's happening, why there's even a story mode in the first place. This is the starting cutscene. So honestly, if you haven't seen it, just look it up. I'm not going to show the whole thing here, but it's the only cutscene you're going to get for a very long time, so just keep that in mind. After the cutscene, you spawn on this giant open map, covered in clouds. You have no idea where to go, except the one path. So you start following the path, you explore the world, and slowly you'll remove the clouds, you'll fight the enemies, you'll collect spirits. And I'll explain what those are in a second. And what kind of enemies are you fighting? Well, you're fighting just the roster. There's no special enemies for this mode, with the exception of bosses, which again, I'll get to later. So you're fighting just the roster, all 73 other fighters, and every time you fight one of them, they have there's a unique little gimmick. There's a buff or a nerf or something that the enemy has that you're just fighting them, and they're gonna fight a little bit different. You might be fighting Mario, who's the first one, but he's not just Mario. He's a spirit from some characters' games. So to counteract these gimmicks, you have to equip your own spirits. You have to unlock them by fighting these fighters. You equip them for yourself, and now you're even more powerful, and then you start fighting other characters. There are primary spirits, which increase the overall power in some way, and there are support spirits, which, kind of buff you with other little gimmicks like a weapon or more health, or you jump higher. You might be resistant to poison, so on and so forth. Rinse and repeat for the entire time. They're all spirit fights. Even against bosses, you're just equipping spirits. So with that being said, let's just move on. So now with all that out of the way, I just kind of want to break down what my time with the mode was. So first of all, the first 2 hours are really awesome. You spawn on this map, you're like, wow, how am I going to get there? How am I going to get to the bad guy? So you're just fighting spirits, and they're all kind of references. That's what they are. They're references to other games. And so the gimmicks are kind of cool, they're kind of unique. So as you play the game in ways that you might not normally play just to counteract the other spirits. It's not like playing your friends or playing online. You're playing with, super enemies in a way, quote-unquote. From there, from the 2-hour mark till about the 5-hour mark, it kind of wore off. The novelty was gone. But I'm still having fun. I'm still enjoying it. I mean, you're just playing Smash Bros, which is already a ton of fun. So, you're just having fun. And then you go from the 5-hour mark to the 10-hour mark, and it immediately becomes repetitive and frustrating because occasionally get spirits that you can't really win, so you have to go fight somewhere else, which means you just gotta go find somewhere else instead of just keeping on the path you were on. I'd get to certain fights that didn't have that specific spirit, For example, I might need the spirit that has poison resistance. I don't have it, so let me, go backtrack somewhere and just keep fighting a different path, and then later on come back and I'll probably have that spirit. I don't even care because I don't even pay attention that much because there's so many. Or just sometimes I'd be under-leveled, and so just like the last time, go find a completely different path. I'd just go a different way, and it's a huge map, so sometimes it's kind of annoying backtracking all that way. And that, for the most part, that was the case until I figured out you can feed your spirits, which didn't really help the poison stuff, but if I fed my spirit, I'd level up to 99 immediately, and all of a sudden it got really easy and boring because you're this god just destroying all the other fighters. Everyone else on the map until like way later in the game, you're just demolishing because you have this super level 99 spirit. And that was just kind of how I did the rest of the story. And so it was from there, from the 10-hour mark onwards, the game became autopilot. I really just wanted it to end at that point. Like, the novelty wore off, the spirit references were cool, but, not really anymore. And that's saying something when it makes a lot of references, because I'd probably enjoy it more in like a trophy room or some other mode, or just reading it online at that point. The enjoyment of this mode shouldn't be 22 hours of just rinse and repeat over and over and over again. It dragged. There's not much to say. I started this mode and I was thinking to myself, I'm going to do everything this mode has to offer. I'm going to complete it. I'm going to 100% it. I'm going to do awesome. And then the more and more you go, you just have to ask yourself, how stubborn are you to just keep this mindset, to keep going? And so that's not to say the mode is bad. It just goes on too long. If this was like a 5 to 10 hour experience, it would really change and make it awesome, simple, still lackluster, but simple. But instead, it just decides to keep going and going. And also, for some reason, if you still don't get what a spirit reference is, I am going to just kind of break it down for you. Every fight is against a character, and obviously the Smash Bros. Character, they're not a different character that you're fighting against, like Knuckles from Sonic, for example. So every character that you're fighting is a husk, and the husk is taken over by a spirit, which is supposed to represent that character from their original game. So the gimmicks are supposed to be related to the characters. For example, I love the Rayman series, and I found him early on in the game, but he's not in the game. He's not a character. He's probably not going to be a DLC character for that matter. So you can't really play that character or play against that character. So their spirit makes an appearance. And the reason the novelty wears off is just because I haven't played Fire Emblem, I haven't played Castlevania, I haven't played Earthbound, Animal Crossing, any Zelda besides Breath of the Wild, Metroid. I haven't played those games. So every time there's a reference, and the thing is there's a lot of references, every time there's one from one of those games, I just don't get it. And so that just means every time I found a spirit that was like that, it wasn't interesting, I didn't really care. I just wanted to, be done with that, move on to one maybe I did know. And that's kind of challenging in a game like this. But it's also not optional. It blocks your path, so you have to do it. So now that you kind of get what's going on, let's just kind of break down the story for a little bit. So just as I mentioned, everybody starts out dying, except for Kirby. He survives to land on this brand new world. So, simple, nothing complex. Just you're Kirby and you survived. And that's all you're going to know for several hours. There's no other story besides fighting husk after husk of these references, for example. So with that being said, jump to the time on screen now if you want to skip the quote-unquote spoilers. And yeah, if you want to find out the rest for yourself, there you go. With that being said, we're going to keep going in. So once you cleared the first map, keyword first map, you fought all 3 bosses, you approach Galeem, who's the bad guy, that sky light orb thing. And he's actually pretty easy. He's on this like battlefield / final destination looking map that has 4 stages. His attacks are easy to dodge, and you can crush him, and then you finally get another cutscene. Turns out that Galeem is not the final boss, but there is an opposite to the light god, which is Darkhan. I think that's how you say that. And so with Galeem defeated, now you enter a dark world, because Darkhan is able to, come through the world and create darkness. And so he clears the world, and then all of a sudden you're in a new one. And now you gotta go clear it, and then fight Darkhan. So it keeps going. It just keeps going. It sucks. So anyways, you painstakingly clear every enemy from the first map, because, I did that because I wanted to 100% it. And then I get a second map that I had to do that I wasn't expecting. So I start the second map, and this one's got some puzzles, kind of. There's like some Zelda themed stuff. There's some other stuff. And this map's at least a little more interesting in my opinion. There's this puzzle thing on like Dracula's castle where you have to, destroy these ghosts before you can enter, and you have to do a certain amount, and you have limited cannonballs, but it's honestly not that hard, and it's pretty mindless. So from there, you defeat 3 different bosses, one of which being Dracula, and I don't remember the other one. Ganon, I think, is another one. You defeat the bosses, you clear the world, how original, and you take on Darkon. And in an extremely similar fashion to Gleam, on almost the exact same stage, in fact, the exact same stage, just different attacks, you defeat Darkon. So exciting. And then you get a cutscene, and in this one, Darkon isn't dying, but instead it's the light and dark are at war, and they notice you, and so you start another world. But at least this one has some action. The CGI cutscene has some action, but it's kind of like a Star Wars fashion where you just saw lights going on and some explosions. You don't actually see stuff happening. You just see the Master Hand and the Crazy Hands colliding. And that's the only thing I really like about these cutscenes, is the fact that Master Hand is a good guy, or like light guy, I guess, and that Crazy Hand is part of the Dark World. I think that's kind of cool. It's a little Easter egg thing. Other than that, this cutscene yet again is lackluster. It doesn't even compare to the opening one. So, yeah. So now that you're teleported to a third world, this one of which is significantly smaller, thank God, you have to fight both light and dark spirits. So at least that's cool, I guess. So if you fight spirits on one side, the map starts to shift. The war is being won by the dark side, or the light side, or whoever you shifted the map in favor of. And this could actually affect the outcome, as the final path will lead you towards either Gleam or Darkon if you have that side winning way too much. So once you clear the stage, you fight Master Hand and Crazy Hand, and then you fight them again on a bonus stage, because, you thought you cleared it, but then you also got to, there's another one. They added more for some reason. So you fight them again, and it turns out both of them were under the control of Gleam and Darkon, so they're good guys now, I guess. All those old games forgiven, I think. Anyways, you clear the stage, you go down the final path, and all of a sudden Master Hand appears. And you get to play as him. Woo woo! You get to play as Master Hand. It's the only reason you ever want to finish the story mode, because you get this one fight out of 22 hours. Totally makes it worth it. Been waiting years for this. Yes. Just yes. His controls are a little funky, and, it's a fun fight, and you get plenty of time to just keep fighting fighters and going over and over. And you do get access to all of his moves, not just, or at least all of them that I recognize that are in this game, at least. So, all I have to do is do a little couple tweaks, bring him to competitive Smash, my new main. I'm going to take Zero down. Master Hand, you are my character. So after you get probably the coolest fight in the game using the Master Hand, you then get a Brawl style level, which is like a moving path. And so you go from one of the highest levels, highest points in the game, probably the highest point in the game that's not, non-story, to probably one of the lowest points in the game. The level just goes. And so you go along the path and you get to a fight, and you kill a couple of fighters, and there's like light and dark, so they're kind of fighting each other, which is kind of cool, but they're fighting each other, and you beat them, and then you move on. And so I get this is supposed to be like some sort of epic build-up. You're getting up, you keep fighting fighters, you defeat light and dark. You kind of, I guess you're walking the line, I guess you could say. But when you're already burnt out, it really doesn't feel like any sort of hype. It doesn't really get you pumped at all. So you do this multiple times. You get to a 4-platform stage that you might recognize, because you fight Gleam and Darkon again, only it's at the same time. Don't worry though. They're going to take their turns attacking you, so, it's not going to get too intense. Yeah. And then once you defeat both of them, you will get the final cutscene. It's been a long time coming. The opening cutscene was awesome. It was epic. And you really haven't gotten another one. And the entire game kind of dragged on. And so you finally get to the final cutscene. You've been really looking forward to it. And it starts with the bad guys dying in water. Okay. And then the spirits form a spiral and go to space. And that's it.
On that day when the sky fell away, our world
I hope that was exciting for you. Was it? So let's just wrap up this section real quick. The narrative, air quotes again, narrative, is it's extremely lackluster. There's nothing to it. Not much of a story. It's an excuse just to find spirits. Just honestly, they're not interesting. They kind of drag on. There's not really any achievement. There's no purpose to doing it besides just saying you did it. And ultimately, that's just what kind of kills it. So now, welcome back if you skipped the story section. But let's talk about Brawl. Maybe you heard me reference it a couple times, but let me just explain why Brawl, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, in my opinion, is so much better, despite Brawl's story kind of being not good either. So just right off the bat, the way Brawl breaks up its levels is they're like 2 to 5 minute long levels on this giant world, and so you click on the levels and you start from a point in the story. So if you're just playing the story straight through, that doesn't really matter, the world thing, you're just clicking on the next one. But in each of these levels, you play as one of a select few characters that are pertinent to the story at that moment. And so when you pick these fighters, and you're only limited, again, because of story reasons, you play through the level, and honestly, I can't really think of any good levels. Most of them suck, they drag on a little bit, but they're short, they're 2 to 5 minutes. And the way they work is you're going through like a game world, right? For example, one of the early levels you're playing as Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong. You're playing through like a clearly a Mario themed or Donkey Kong Country themed level. Music is kind of pulled from that series. You're fighting Goombas and Koopas, both of which extremely recognizable if you've played those games. It's simple. It's honestly really simple. And the only thing that sucks is they're generic. The enemies, they don't really make sense. It doesn't really work for Smash Bros. Like, it doesn't really work with that combat style, at least in my opinion. But what's okay about this is it's broken up into 4-minute short little levels, which kind of sometimes have some puzzles and some hidden things that ultimately work better than any puzzles, quote-unquote, that Ultimate has. And then occasionally there'd be some sort of chase scene or like a boss fight, which was just against like other fighters or other bosses like Rayquaza or however you say it. But other than that, they just kind of stick to the formula, you know? And, you know, there is a maze level at the very end that nobody likes, at least that I hate. I think it's awful. But ultimately, I kind of liked it, at least compared to Ultimate. I do like how Ultimate keeps its gameplay simple. You're doing a fight. You know, that's what Smash Bros. Is known for, these stages, and you're fighting instead of linear levels. And it just kind of works better from a fighting standpoint in Ultimate. I mean, Injustice Gods Among Us, a different fighting game that many consider to have the greatest fighting game story of all time, they did it that way. They just broke it up by fights. So in theory, like, that should work for Ultimate, shouldn't it? And so there's kind of an issue, right? If I liked Ultimate's game loop better, why do I like its story mode better? Well, there's a couple reasons for that. And first of all, the worlds, right? You're not just fighting on a level. You're not just, beating a fighter on a stage. The worlds were actually from the games. Not that the stages aren't from games, but when you're playing as Donkey Kong and Diddy, and you're fighting Koopas and Goombas, you know where you are. You're in, like, a Mario stage. In World of Light, however, you're on an open map and on random stages. So, and, you might get the reference. You might, I think that's the Great Plateau Tower thing. Or it's just a tower from Zelda. But you might not get the reference. And a lot of times, you can't really tell because it's, not that it's a poor designed map, but just the way it's designed, you can't tell where you are or where you're not. I know there's like a Pokemon area, maybe even a couple, but it's kind of hard for me to tell that it's even that. And they don't, like, tell you where you are. There's no, like, words or anything for the map. That would be cool, right? Hey, you're in Pallet Town. You're in Peach's Castle or something like that. That'd be cool, but it's not very clear where you are, at least not all the time. And, just the design of the map, and with no explanation, no words, no references, nothing, you kind of don't understand, what the path is even supposed to be sometimes, or why it connects. And on top of this, and Brawl, 5-ish minutes, maybe a little bit more, was the max that one of these levels would be. And at the end of it, you got a cutscene. And that's what made the story. That's what made it memorable. And it showed characters, and they're often from like different series, and they're interacting. For example, like seeing Diddy drag Fox away it's just funny, you know. Or when Diddy's sad that Donkey Kong was captured, you know, even though he was like overambitious. You see Zero Suit Samus and Pikachu team up. You see Marth and Meta Knight fight, only to then team up against, you know, the bad guys, right? Or you see Bowser and Ganondorf standing on top of this tower thing, and these epic heroes are fighting. It's cool, you know. You felt rewarded that you beat that level, even if it was like 3 minutes. You know, and maybe you really like the gameplay, but I didn't. But you beat that level because you got rewarded with something. And sometimes they were lackluster. Like sometimes you just saw a Meta Knight ship flying away again, and it was boring. But, you know, other times it was really cool. That's just why I love Subspace Emissary. Like, even more than World of Light, by a lot. And it's not because the gameplay was great. It's not because I always want to go back and play it, because it's not that great, right? But the high-stakes, quote-unquote, story and the cutscenes is just what made it cool. It's what made it interesting. And that's why you finished it. That's why you wanted to play it. You know, in World of Light, it just drags on. Like, there's nothing. There's no payoff. There's nothing going on. The few cutscenes that there are even boring. You don't really care. Nothing happens. And the one cool gameplay thing at the very end, which is a spoiler, so I'm not going to say it again, but, you know, if you really want to know, go back to the story. But it does nothing to change the loop. It just drags, and that's really what kills it. There's no reward. There's no payoff for that grinding you did. And, you know, it's still bad, even if there was a reward, but the fact that there's no reward makes it worse. And so now, I just think, overall, Smash Bros. Never needed a single player. It still doesn't. Classic mode is a fun distraction, but the game thrives on being a competitive game to, you know, face against pros and try to be the best. And it also thrives on just being a great, fantastic party game where you have items and assist trophies, and you're fighting your friends, and you guys are getting pizza or whatever, right? The game doesn't need a single-player mode. That being said, the World of Light trailer, it didn't sell this game. It was the fact that you could play Mario versus Sonic versus Solid Snake versus Mega Man. That's what sold this game. All the characters fighting and this awesome thing you can play with your friends. You know, gaming icons coming together just to beat the crap out of each other. And that's what made this game. And so, that's just what makes Ultimate so good. But if you're interested in this game because of the single player, all I have to say is you'll get a few good hours out of it. And after that, it's just going to drag on, and it's never going to live up to the rest of the game. That's all I have to say on Ultimate's World of Light game mode, the single player for Smash Bros. Ultimate. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. It took way longer than it needed to even post any videos to this channel. And so, you know, I was getting frustrated with the videos I was making. Just kind of explain where I've been inconsistent with the goals I've had and what I wanted to do. Just because it was kind of hard to focus on a type of video or the thing I wanted to make, right? And so I realized that's not what I wanted STG to be. I wanted Skill Tree Gaming to be a channel that, you know, had a focus. It made a type of video, a certain type of video. And I also had to come to the fact that I can't do everything. I can't make news videos and guides and video essays and all that stuff in one channel. I am one person. I can't do it. And it's not really possible unless I were to quit my job and to quit school and all this other stuff. So it was also a lot of coming to that fact and just understanding not everything is possible. But I can still do YouTube. I just can't do everything on YouTube. And so with that, I took my time. I finished my last semester at the university. And I'm kind of here to reinvigorate my channel before the next semester at the university. So I'm on break. I recorded a ton of footage. I've got a bunch of videos right now that I'm working on that are longer. They're more video essay style, which from here on out, that's just kind of what I'm going for. Longer videos, more edited. If you like the old videos, I also have a second channel that I did start. And that's kind of my channel to do whatever. And it's basically going to be short videos, live commentary, let's plays, anything like that. No new stuff, though. Anything like that, you'll have to go elsewhere because there's more than enough people doing things like that. So videos are coming back to this channel. In the following weeks, I have a couple things. I have a stream deck and a new camera and a bunch of stuff that I want to start streaming. The only issue is I need to finish building or construction or whatever you want to say on my stream room. So I can't really get that going just yet. But I do have stuff to do that, which is really easy to make content for. So I will start streaming soon enough. Other than that, thank you guys for being so patient. If you did watch the video, if you made it all the way through, and if you are a follower of this channel, thank you guys for watching. And I absolutely love making videos. I love doing YouTube and all that other stuff. And I can't wait to get this going again. As always, I hope to see you all in the game.